Gather, veterans. It's time to join the fight. The long war begins.
This is The Long War. I'm Robbie B. And joining me once again are my partners in crime, Kenny Boucher, Stephen Fore, and Sean Naden. What's up, guys?
Yo, dog, great to be here.
Yo, what's happening, everybody? I almost got Sean to laugh during the intro.
No, you couldn't make me do it.
I almost picked up this pen and started clicking it.
I was going to click it.
Anytime Sean would normally laugh, you just hear an indiscriminate clicking sound.
We're going to get trained like the Velociraptors. Be like, nah, you can't eat over there. Juice.
I want you to know, that is a powerful ass clicker because it took that animal away from flesh. His meal. He's
just
like,
means raptors are into ASMR, man. They're into that clicking sound. There's entire ASMR videos that are just clicking.
What a crazy concept. I don't know where that came from.
I'm hooked, bro. I can't, like, they're ridiculous. Sometimes they're just train wrecks. It's just ridiculous. And just like, this is a thing. Sometimes they're just clicking things. And I'm just still can't look away. I'm like, what is happening?
I'm going to throw something out there, and it may or may not work. Stick, so to speak. How can we combine ASMR with pooping? Is that possible?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what ASMR is.
Just look it up.
All right. We don't want to talk about it now.
Stands for like the meridian response or something like that. Auditorial meridian. It's the thing. Okay. Have you ever been sitting in a barber's chair and like he's cutting your hair with the clippers and you get like a tingly feeling down your spine?
Because it's like,
sure.
It's like a combination of auditorial stimuli and proximity, and you get like an interesting feeling, like it tingles your spine. That would technically be ASMR. And so basically this entire channel is dedicated to stimulating that response through various different sounds.
But really what it ends up being
ends up being
a bunch of ladies
you don't have
putting
to
their
tell
mouths
me.
by the microphone, turning the gain up.
My voice, I actually could imagine that myself. I actually think Howard Stern perfected that some years ago.
Actually, Bob Ross, a lot of people Bob Ross spoke in that. So there's like a register you can speak in. They're all going to whisper. A lot of people say Bob Ross speaks in that register. And that's part of the appeal of his show, was that it was basically an ASMR banner. But really what it comes down to, as to Rob's point, is it's an excuse to tag yourself as a certain type of content on platforms like YouTube and Twitch. So you can kind of break or stretch the rules of of TOS on the platform because you're operating under this.
By you mean TOS, you mean
terms of service.
Feet.
But you can't show your feet still. Feet showing still not on the table unless it's appropriate for the venue, like you're at the beach or something. So It's really just an excuse to do some weird shit and get some views. Now, I'm not down anybody out there, not shitting on ASMR artists. There are many ASMR artists who are committed to their craft. But however, there are many who use an excuse to basically.
There's many that draw pictures of feet.
Stretch the boundaries, like, for sure. And it is hilarious, and it is definitely worth the watch to understand how preposterous this can get. At least once.
This sounds ridiculous.
I'm fucking ridiculous, dog.
I'm ready. David, for anybody who doesn't for anybody who doesn't know, that's Kenny's brother. David, you can turn the show off now. We're gonna start talking 40K.
Start talking real action. Actually, before we get to that, we got a lot of tabletop market watch to talk about, probably, and interesting news from the world of tabletop. So if you missed it today, Games Workshop unveiled a very special, some sort of way you can get a new Lady Commissar model that's going to be at their Black Library Open around the end of February. I think the third week of February, if I'm not mistaken. And the internet literally lost its mind.
Rob, women don't have a place in the grimdark future.
I'm pretty sure everybody fights in the grimdark future, even the cats.
Most of my army is ladies. And I call all my special characters ladies, even the Eldrad.
Are you telling me that within the canon of the actual narrative of the game we play, there's actually literally a place for females in the 41st millennium?
Yep.
I'm just quoting comments that you told me were things, Rob.
I don't know if y'all have seen a show called The 100. All right. I'm binge watching it right now as we speak. Anybody who is in charge is a woman, and they're badass. Continue, Rob.
Sounds about right. I mean, we've talked about the high school phenomenon, how it reverts back to. Maybe we haven't talked about it around here.
I think we're all aware of it, though. We're grown-ups.
Anyways, we all know who runs the high school, and that's probably a lot of how it worked back in the day. But anyways, long story short, there are ladies, not only players in our hobby, but also there will be lots more lady figures coming out. So if this bothers you,
trigger
I don't know
alert.
what to tell you.
I'm sorry. I was going to try to do like a trigger alert. Like you can skip over this. Too late. If you got triggered, probably the person we don't want in the hobby anyway. So I don't care.
I don't know what to say. Like, this is real world stuff. And, I don't feel like it's anything invading our hobby. Kind of like the heroin, comparing our hobby to heroin from the Guardian post. I really hate when all these people come in and write these articles and like PETA attacks the hobby or the Guardian. Like, come on, like, get out of here.
At the end of the day, what they've done is create an amazing model that looks great, sculpted well, that
very well
represents the narrative. Like it's dope.
And it goes along, it's paired with a novel,
right?
Yeah, with a new novel,
right?
You guys did it twice. Cool. Jinx said novel at the same time, literally perfectly twice.
Yeah, but he has better beard than me.
He has a beard. That is true. I'm not saying it's better or worse than your beard.
Wow.
I have never seen your beard, so I'm certain it exists.
I'm looking for it.
I'm sure it's magical.
My beard is with the rest of my stickies somewhere in this room.
I just realized when they both talk at the same time, it's like a fucking barbershop quartet. They have perfect voices.
Rob's just not going to stop talking now.
I have no place in the show anymore.
Talk at the same time.
Yes. Do you guys hear it? It's perfect. Oh my God, we're starting a band.
Anyways.
No.
Now he's doing it on purpose. So I think long story short, it's going to be an interesting phenomenon. I think Games Workshop is kind of experimenting with to see the response on this stuff. We also saw lady upgrade heads for the Stormcast, which also kind of leads. I was like, well, what if they make these for guardsmen? What if they make lady upgrade heads for guardsmen, right? And then I started thinking about it. I was like, but there's no lady guardsman models. They're all dude models. And not because of the armor, just because they're literally dude stature. Like, they're dudes. They're big. They're not ladies.
They're all
like
hero
ladies.
scale. Yeah, they're all like, they're over exaggerated for a dude anyway. No man looks that way. You seen how big a guardsman's hands are gripping? Like, I mean, they're just freakishly scaled. Like, so it wouldn't look right.
So yeah, I think it's good. We're gonna start seeing a more variety of miniatures out there. But if they don't do it for you, don't buy it. For your hobby dollars. If you don't like the models, don't buy them. But if you want this sweet commissar, you're gonna have to buy this like bundle or whatever at the Black Library Open, or maybe it'll be available on their website. But either way, she's supposed to have rules in 40K. Rules and Kill Team will be in the February White Dwarf. We also know that March looks like assassins are gonna get rules in the White Dwarf. Which is going to be interesting, like what they consider. Do we get new assassin rules? Because there's Death Cult assassins in the Kill Team box, the Rogue Trader box, which I think
might be updating how they interact with the game, right? Because they changed how
some sort of detachment. Yeah, like you can just add them in, inquisitorial mandate. I don't know, something. That should be.
You should be able to, in my opinion, take a. So it almost feel like 4 detachments if anybody's actually caring, but throw an assassin in any Imperium army, I think it's fine.
Yes, or
don't say that you have to take 1 or a minimum of 3, depending on an auxiliary detachment for -1 CP, or you have to have at least 3 of them. Nah.
Yeah, I think they're going to get some special rules to how they can interact and get into armies, which will be good.
No, totally good, because people just don't take them anymore because they take a whole detachment, and it's like, dog, these models are sweet.
We love them, man. Remember that one podcast we did on them where we're like, these are so hype, and then we just it just progressively got sadder and sadder as we discussed the rules for 40K.
Yeah, and to be honest, one of the ways to play them was the 0 to 3 rule really hurt them because
Yeah.
I played against multiple and built quite a few lists where I had like 5 Eversor assassins.
I think the Eversor is good in spam, sure.
That dude was a baller in it, but like just getting, again, not taking the CP drain, you know, at -1 to just get a Eversor, a Calexis, a Vindicare, like, nah.
True.
100%. So that's going to be interesting to see if they keep tic-tacking these rules and giving us things. Like, personally, I think we've talked about it. The bloat might be kind of real. If you're playing Crimson Fist, well, you got a lot of books to carry around with you. So it's a little challenging there, but again, it's pushing the game forward, and the game is definitely in a different place now, I feel like, but we could talk about that later. As far as new releases go, let's talk about Privateer for a minute. So Privateer has been in kind of a weird place as a company. Like War Machine, they've been around since the early 2000s. They just announced that they hired on a new CEO. And this guy's been around for a while.
They're still private. They're still privately a private company.
Yeah, they're still private. So he's been around for a while, and now this guy Bob Watts is going to be managing their stuff for them, and I think that's a good precedent because the guy has a lot of connections. From what I understand, he's a really good dude, but I think he has an uphill battle. There's been a little bit of a slide with Privateer, so it's good to see that change is coming to Privateer Press because War Machine Hordes has been, around for almost 20 years now, and it's awesome to see. And we don't obviously want to lose any companies out there or anything like that. Because
especially a sick model making company who also has a sick range of paints. Like, I mean, yeah, great design work. I mean, they were like a place that 6th edition people went because they weren't happy with 6th edition. They've been killing it. It sucked to see them go. So I don't know. I'm not saying that they're like on the verge of going.
No.
Just like they're making forward momentum.
Obviously, we can't point to any stats because they're a privately held company, but you could see where a lot of retailers were dumping their merchandise, and that's generally a bad thing. Like, this game isn't selling, we're dumping it. Like, that's a bad sign to see. So it's good to see that, new fresh blood.
Yeah, honestly, I think the whole private company thing is kind of something that's been holding it back.
Well, it is what it is.
I mean,
I'll just leave that one alone and back away slowly. So that's good to see on the, kind of macro level of things. We're still waiting on kind of the retailer roundup as voting roundup. They do it twice a year, ICV2, and we haven't heard yet who the top selling non-collectible game is for tabletop, according to their polling of all the game stores out there that they poll.
Fantasy Flight or GW is going to be down to them again.
Oh no, it was GW last time for the first time in 2 years. So it's going to be interesting
Flight
to
was
see.
crushing it. Yeah,
Fantasy Flight was crushing it, and then the 2.0 came out, and people weren't feeling it going into, but the releases happened. So where are we at since then? Yeah. That's what I want to know.
Big news. I'm stoked to hear.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see. Funko Pop. I'm sure everybody's heard by now. We're going to get Funko Pop figures for Warhammer, at least 4 of them. It's the designs look great. I think they got you walk into any local game store that has comics and or board games and stuff, and they probably have a whole aisle of these things. Yeah. It's not just them. It's like Barnes and Noble got these things everywhere. It's going so mainstream. It's great to see the hobby mainstream, and people are like, wait, that's Warhammer? That's still a thing? It's going to be good. It's going to be good. No idea on price or release date at this point, but generally they go for $10-ish. There's always limited edition at different and exclusives at, GameStop or Barnes and Noble or whatever. So I'm sure there'll be all of that, and it'll be awesome, and we'll know.
Barnes and Nobles, what's that?
It's a bookstore.
That's not going to be around much longer.
Jinx.
They sell those analog things with pages.
Blockbuster.
I go to Barnes and Noble a lot.
Too soon, bro.
Enjoy it while it lasts.
No, actually, them over Borders and other book companies, they developed a very rich online game ahead of their time. They stayed up with it, so they've actually done well while a lot of other main bookstores have closed.
How do you find time to IRL read? I can't even read a codex unless someone reads it to me on this podcast.
I read really fast.
Yeah, he's a speed reader. There you go. He just puts it on 2x, like on YouTube. Just puts it in
I don't do
2x speed.
audiobooks. I read the books.
I can't do audiobooks either, to be quite honest.
And I like it paper. I don't like it on a Kindle.
Oof.
Yeah, you're a hipster.
On the Long War side of things, we did a live bat rep on Sunday. If you missed that, it's in the Hall of Veterans right meow, I think. And then I guess it'll be out on YouTube next Wednesday? Question mark? I think it'll drop over there.
Content's back.
Yeah, content's back.
The content train.
Which is pretty good. Tomorrow on the video game side of things, Battlefleet Gothic Armada 2 will be dropping on Steam for $39.99. I think there's a pre-order special going on right now. This is before it drops, so you probably, unless you're watching that live, will not get that special. But from the graphics of it, it looked pretty dope. It looked like they showed the Black Star Fortress crashing into Cadia and Cadia exploding and all sorts of cool animations.
Fuck Cadia.
Wow.
That's a hobos.
No, let me tell you, after,
They're probably
Planet broke before the guard did.
Yeah, I mean, oh wow, that's an achievement. That's a feather in your cap. You lost your planet. Well, you got Death Stars, son.
Yeah, they got Death Stars, but damn, their planet got screwed. But damn, if that doesn't have immediate impact in the game of Warhammer 40K right now.
See, I like
the hate for Cadia is so real; it makes every guard detachment good.
Like, my hate for Cadia is that they, for like the entire time I've been playing this game, have been like shitting in my cereal. Like, I'm just trying to have a party here, guys. You're the guy who comes over and is like, can you just turn it down? It's Friday at 8:30 p.m. Get out of here. I tear.
I tear what?
Hobos.
And then that guy burns your building down.
Yeah, and then
for what?
he shoots at me. Got my noise marines
Really
wailing
well.
on their axes and shit, dude. Fucking
Shoots at you really well and a lot. It's like if you guys had that much vengeance, you wouldn't have lost Cadia. You bunch of tryhards.
They're so indoctrinated that, like, as soon as they lost their planet, they're like, the planet broke before we did. Like, that's not anything to be proud of, Doug. You lost.
I mean, it wasn't their fault. Abaddon got his hands on some old one technology. It's really...
It doesn't get much
unfair.
older, that's for sure.
Abaddon finally did something right.
All right, new release wise. Release wise coming out this week. If you're a fan of quite possibly the best game that you're not playing right now, Adeptus Titanicus, lots of new releases this week.
Is that what you want to put on the shirt, by the way?
The best game you're not playing.
Yeah. Or is that too on the nose?
No, I think, isn't that okay?
I mean, you kind of coined it. So, like, is it too on the nose for what you're trying to do? We got a shirt design we're getting ready to roll out in longwarswag.com. It may be inspired by that statement.
I do like it. The other one that Rob uses is the best game you'll never play.
Well, I don't want to. I think that's kind of negative, though, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, it's definitely more negative.
I feel like they're both saying something.
They're both accurate.
But I feel like never is like,
Too final.
yeah.
People could change. They don't.
Have you guys ever heard of the game called Final Fantasy? There's like 15 of them.
Oh, there's a few.
I've never played it.
You thought Final Fantasy game was done, but then they came out with Final Fantasy 2. It's like, well, isn't that be the second fantasy? Nope,
Yes.
It's all final.
What's actually more confusing, Juice, I'll take you down a train wreck here, is that the Final Fantasy numbers are different for some of the Japan-only issued games, and the American ones are actually renumbered based on what country they were released in, so there's actually more than 15.
That makes sense.
I can't even right now.
That makes sense. The translation, we can't even get numbers right. Got it. We're talking about commas and semicolons with GW translating rules.
So I feel like we're not going to have one statement on the shirt then. It's going to be like the symbol that we're working on. Best game you'll hopefully one day play. Please give it a chance. It's not very dissimilar than the Final Fantasy series, which has 15 titles. Actually has more because Japanese releases, and it's just going to keep going and getting smaller and
There's
smaller.
going to have to, we could put the asterisks and then put all that on the back.
Yeah.
All right, so I actually have it. It is now a Star Wars themed shirt where Adeptus Mechanicus is large, and it is slowly coming down in smaller text, like the intros of all the Star Wars.
That's also pretty good. I like that.
We got those Lord of the Rings Celtic knots on the corners for Sean.
Yeah.
I can make this shirt.
Yeah.
The back of the shirt is they're in the cave from Harry Potter, and it's got whatever that main wizard's name is, cast fireball, ? How good is Gandalf?
Yeah, all of that.
We will now call this the unicorn shirt.
That entire stream of conscious is going to be in one of those little paragraphs really small at the bottom.
I can't. What? No. Okay, but yeah, I think that's the text. Let's do that.
Best believe I brushed up on my Lord of the Rings quotes for this week for this outro. Haspil's not here. Got put on the spot last week. Wasn't gonna fall down this week.
That's good.
All on your sword like the Forgotten King.
Yep. Not falling on the sword this week.
So Rob, sorry to derail you on Adeptus Titanicus, your favorite game.
You cannot derail me on Adeptus Titanicus.
This train doesn't stop. Got it.
We just went in the park and we are back because let me tell you about these new releases. We got a Reaver Titan with chain fist, turbo lasers on top, volcano cannons. You guys think you have a volcano cannon on your knights? That's cute. That's really cute.
Hey, at Adepticon, Rob, can you teach me how to play Adeptus Titanicus?
Absolutely.
Can that what we do for like 3 hours instead of me playing in singles?
Absolutely. You don't even need 3 hours.
We'll do it on stream. We can stream.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because actually, like, I'm not playing in the championship at Adepticon because I feel like we every year we go into the championships at Adepticon and then we pretend like we're going to create some type of content that night. And then we, for like literally a decade, have not. So I'm like, you know what? I learned my lesson. Fucking, I'm not going to play anything. And so I would love to be a party to this Titanicus showdown.
I'll have to bring 2 painted battle groups. We'll start you guys off small training wheels.
Can I have a Revenant Titan?
Yeah.
No.
That's not a thing, is it?
That's not a thing yet.
Wait a second.
The Reaver is.
No.
Rob,
I want a Phantom and a Revenant. Do they have that
cute.
yet?
If I'm not mistaken, Rob, I need your help. We need to start now. I have been issued a challenge, and I damn sure accepted it. You know I would. Justin Cox, shout out Jay Cox, has issued in a challenge. We got to do the 3-game small to large scale. I forgot
about that.
Good guys versus bad guys.
We should do that
for pink slips.
For slips,
literally, for slips. We have to play Titanicus, 40K, and whatever the next one is.
What isn't there still an Inquisitor like active rule set? Like
something like that. Like it's literally like you're up top, and then it just. No, we have to get our Battlefleet Gothic models out.
Oh,
we
gotta play. You gotta play your Eldar Fleet Gothic rules, Sean. And then immediately you have to play your Epic scale or Titanicus scale version, and then you have to play your 40K version, then your Kill Team version, and then the final game is a showdown with Inquisitor rules.
Yep,
all in one day.
There it is. Justin Cox, I haven't forgot about you. Maybe I did until right now, but we're back in action. I'm not going to let you down.
I actually literally forgot about you, and I apologize.
Bring your models, brother, because they're coming home with me. I got to figure out what exactly I'm playing to potentially hand to you. I'm not going to lose.
So we actually got a new rule book this week too. It's called Titan Death. Very, very aptly named. 8 new Legios in there.
What's a Legio? Is Legio their
it's their chapter, the doctrine.
Okay, you got it.
Yeah, whatever you want to call it. And it's really weird because there's some get like 2 stratagems, some get like war gear, but everybody gets like 3 new warlord traits, which is nice, and everybody has some sort of Legio trait. Some have 2. It's very unique, and it kind of fits their like story and lore and stuff. If you ever read a Titan novel, you could probably read these rules and be like, oh, that was probably in the novel I read because they did this thing with the stuff, and you could probably relate to it at least in that regard. That book's $35. The new Reaver Titan $60. They also have the upgrade sprue for the Warlord Titan, which is $42 just for the sprue and the weapons, which is less than spending $110 on the whole model. But if you want to buy the new model with the new sprue, that's 110, and then get the volcano cannons and go backwards, there isn't a sprue for that yet.
You were
But
taking me to this like
UGW.
epic like savings finale, and then you were like, "And there, you can't do that." Continues to be the best game I'll ever play. Got it.
Yeah, it's still a good game. It's a solid game. If you play 7th edition, you already pretty much know how to play the game.
So I didn't buy the box set that you would split with a friend. I didn't buy any of that stuff. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's already new resources, new rules, new models, new upgrade sprues. The likelihood, it seems, of me joining into this game is
Still a 0.
Well, no, so here's the
No,
deal.
just kidding. It is
only thing that
easier
changed-
digestible to get in, right?
Yeah, the only thing that changed is now you just need a supplement book. It's an extra $35 retail. That's it.
that's free.
You don't
That
need
doesn't even cost money. That's buy one get one free. GW.
So it
When
went
does Chapter Approved come out for Titanicus?
from whenever they figure out they can make money off it, I suppose.
They're not gonna print a book that Rob and he's gonna buy 3 copies of.
Well, I mean, to be quite honest, we've seen in the past where they do a compendium for Blood Bowl. They just did one for Necromunda. So in theory, they said there's going to be more than one expansion for Titanicus. So if they put out another one this year, we could see a new 2.0 rule book with the expansions and the main rule book, poof,
You have
like they did.
got a lot of confidence in that.
I would say it's a good 50% right now because the precedent's been set with Blood Bowl and Necromunda already. So
That's a solid number.
This is the third in line, so that's like 100%.
Okay.
But we'll see. Also, if you're into the Night Solving Vault, the Night Crime Solving Vault thing,
Night Vault.
Warhammer Underworlds,
Shade
new,
Speezy.
Shade Speezy, 2 new expansions come out this week for $30 each. You got Molog's Mob, and which is the troll and his little cave friends. You get Bat Squig. I mean, it's got a Bat Squig. Like, come on. Why would you not buy it? And the Godsworn Hunt, which is basically Chaos Marauders. That's all I got. That was a lot.
That was a lot. But
Boob
Said a
armor.
lot of words.
I feel like it was all useful information.
Yeah, it's all good stuff coming out for sure.
When's G Killer Colts coming out? Do you have any?
I imagine the next 2 weeks, over the next 2 weeks.
I will
This-
say,
oh,
what's up?
wait, I skipped stuff. I still have more. So next week's releases are Kill Team Arena for $90. 2 new, okay. And this is, I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts on this? You remember when Kill Team came out, right? You got Terrain, and what else did
Can't
you get?
remember a time when Kill Team didn't exist. Actually,
The last time. The return to Kill
which
Team.
time?
It all fades together. So
Final
there was
Fantasy
Terrain.
15.
Yes.
But 8 in
Or
America.
Which one is it?
Just kidding.
Oh.
We don't know. We don't
So
play
they-
that game.
Who's got time for video games?
Me,
The
as long as it's Fallout
Must be nice.
76.
I'm telling you, that place is right up the street from me. I've seen it. That
I know.
load screen, it's right up the street.
Every time I load it into the screen, I'm thinking of Rob the whole time. Like, is that motherfucker?
I'm going to send you a picture. I'll be like, I found it. It's right here.
Whenever a game like that comes out, and I never have time. Like, guys, I work 7 days a week. Somehow I find myself waking up at like 8 a.m. Like, well, wake up at 8 a.m. I can play Fallout for like 4 hours before I do work. Then I'm going to bed at 4 a.m. again. Then I wake up at 8 a.m. Do that for about a week. Try to convince myself I can maintain that. And then what happens is I sleep for 20 hours in a row. And Rob's like, what are you doing? Wake up. I'm like, it's still the morning. He's like, no, it's not. It's literally 3 p.m. your time. Like, fuck, I can't play video games. This is what happens every time.
I would like to chime in. First of all, I know when you hit me up in the morning when I'm awake at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning and you're like, I'm still awake. I was like, ooh, Kenny done effed up. If he's awake right now and I just woke up.
And you know my stream schedule, so you're like, ooh.
Yeah. Oof. Bold move.
Bold move.
The second point I would like to make is that there are females in Titanicus. There's a lot of princeps that are ladies, and that's a thing, and it's in the novels and the rule book. Sorry, y'all. There's ladies in the hobby. It's a thing.
Because Titans usually fall into like royal houses, right? So
Yeah.
if your heir is a lady, she's got to ride that Titan because you ain't gonna give your Titan to non-family members. Let's
That's
be
true.
real.
And a lot of them are naked in a big
it's like
cube of goo.
It's like giving your Valyrian steel blade to someone like the Lannisters, selling it because they didn't have one, and them cutting it up, breaking it down, just messing up your shit.
Rookie mistakes. So, Kill Team coming out next week. 2 new warbands or whatever, $65. And I think it's Genestealer Cult and AdMech again. They were in the starter box, but they added new characters to them. The Gunslinger and that big fatty mech dude. He looks kind of cool. Very Blanchisuis. And
I'm behind all that.
Yeah,
I'm starting to think that
Killzone.
we should stop using the phrase hobos and fatties to describe it. Both of them offend me because I identify both those.
I identify as a 40K fat kid, so
That's cultural appropriation, sir.
I don't even know those words you said.
You're taking my fat culture and you're taking it for yourself.
I have no response.
I never
Pass. That's all I got. I'm actually done this time.
All right, well, I guess we should take
Bolter
a quick
rules.
commercial break.
Something.
Oh, Bolter rules, that's right. We'll do the Bolter rules after the commercial break then.
All right, I'll pull them up.
So, real quick, before we get out of here, LVO coming right up around the corner, like 2 weeks.
Yeah, I finally booked my flight, so I'm coming.
Make sure you upload your army list tomorrow before you get fucked.
I should definitely do that because I will definitely get carded.
Yep. So LVO, like the weekend of the 8th February, LVO doubles, Long War doubles at LVO. We are very close to having the rubric published for you guys. The painting rubric is finalized. Score sheet is finalized. And the theme sheet actually has most of the talking points, just need to have the points worked out. That is happening ASAP. We're going to have that out for you for some amount of time to observe. I will give you guys this snippet, about the theme. The theme is going to be like a celebration of the hobby. A lot of the things that you're going to be looking for in theme are going to be like team spirit, like old school team spirit from Adepticon. Remember those days where they scored you on that? You're going to be rewarded for how much spirit, right? Not just like you have it, check mark. Like I'm going to give you check all applies. Like you guys have matching blue shirts because you play Ultramarines. That's a check. Did you guys get your own shirts printed up? And maybe you went all out with some cool hats or something? Yo, wow. Dice? I don't know. And then there's going to be one for those cosplayers that always show up at our events. People always coming in with chainswords and shit. And it sucks that they get the exact same point that everyone else did, right?
Dressing up like Catachans and stuff.
Right? And
No, shout out last year at Adepticon. Sorry, Kenny, but it's killing me right now. I can see your faces, but I cannot remember your first and last names. But we had a Harlequin.
we had Harlequins
yeah.
and Scutari Rangers and stuff before.
Yep.
Both fully dressed up for the Long War Double.
With the shot wheel.
Yeah.
The
Oh,
wheel
the
of-
shot
yes.
wheel. Yeah.
The shot
Yes.
wheel.
See, there's going to be a position on the theme chart for bribing or bribery. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Ooh.
there's going to be
The
theme.
best booze, the better.
We're going to, and just to combo that off of like the paint list, we have a painting rubric now that now allows for people who go over the top. Because right now, as it stood, we had people last year, like I want to use Horton and Twitch as an example, who had like basically a volcano working like at that level on their display board. But because we just have a checkbox for a display board, they didn't win best appearance. Right. And I'm like, well, we need to delineate between certain types of display boards. So now we have more room in our rubrics for more commitment. And the theme is good. The theme score is not a painting score per se, but theme will play off, or painting will play off of it objectively for some of these things. Like there's going to be places on there, like there's going to be like a visual category, visual inspection of theme, right? Ultramarine standing tall on, on snow bases, like on a snow terrain. Like that gives you a point. That's theme. But like, how dynamic is it? There's going to be a dynamic category. Are they fighting off gene stealers? Like, what are they doing? So it's going to keep going from there. Each category is going to basically be 3-tiered on visuals, on actual coalition, like coalition, like Eldar and Tau, right? So now we're looking at your army lists. Like, do you have a narrative that supports that in the narrative category of your theme? Cool. But you're probably not going to get the advanced check marks because it's going to be, the hard sell, right? So it's going to really support people who are thematic, who are trying to bring narratives, even creating their own narratives. There's a place for you to bring a narrative. You can present it to me as righteously as you want. It could be on scrolls. It could be on banners. There could be lights. It could be anything you want. So the theme is truly a celebration of the hobby. It's the part that no matter how good you are painting, how good you are playing, you can achieve to celebrate this hobby with us at the various conventions that we are bringing this event to, LVO, Adepticon, and Bay Area Open as it stands, with potentially 800 to 900 people playing in that block of time. So that's the sneak peek I can give you right now. The full rubric will be published this week for Sherzies. Be going to the printers, and we'll be seeing you guys in a couple of weeks. Anyway, we'll jump into the commercial. When we come back, Beta Bolter rules, and we'll hear from Sean's epic beatdown story this previous weekend. Finally, the Long War swag is here. LongWarSwag.com, the official home of Long War merchandise. We've got a range of merchandise exclusive to the Long War brand, next level painting, and spiky bits. Definitely log in today while supplies lasts. Veterans, I've got news for you. Get your best deals online at dicehead.com. Long War Vets, call or email for your best vet deals. That's dicehead.com. elricshobbies.com is your exclusive portal to upgrading your hobby. When you sign up at thelongwar.net, you gain an instant promotional discount good for 10% off at Elric's Hobbies. elricshobbies.com.
Dear veterans, quickly, make your way to thelongwar.net and find out how to reap your hard-earned spoils of this long war. For our allies at secretweaponsminiatures.com have rewarded us all with an extra 10% discount on all Secret Weapon Miniatures merchandise. So stock up, dear veterans, and enjoy.
And we're back. Rob, Walters?
Beta Bolters. Let's talk about it. So G-Dub in the White Dwarf put out a new beta rule, and just spoiler alert, I have the rest of the article, and there's going to be a lot more beta rules coming in White Dwarfs. So be looking for that. Hold on to your hats, because there's a lot more rules coming. Robin Crudis wrote an article. This is part of it. And
Bless your boy, Juice.
Yeah. He said, hey.
My man.
More beta rules. So look for those, or don't, or whatever. It doesn't matter. So beta bolter rules. Here we go. All Adeptus Astartes or Heretic Astartes models gain this ability. Instead of following the normal rules for rapid fire weapons, rapid fire bolt weapons used by models with this ability make double the number of attacks if any of the following apply. Bullet list. The firing model's target is within half the weapon's maximum range. Second point, the firing models remain stationary during its previous movement phase. Third point, the firing model is a Terminator, Biker, Centurion, or vehicle. For the purpose of this ability, a rapid-fire bolt weapon is any weapon with a rapid-fire type whose profile includes the word bolt. Examples, bolt gun, bolt rifle, storm bolter, combi bolter, hurricane bolter, inferno bolt gun, etc. This also applies when firing the bolt gun profile of combis, including bolt weapon profile of relics such as the Blood Angel, the Blood Song, and the Lion's Wrath, etc., etc. I think you get the point by this point.
What about hurricane bolters?
He said that.
Yeah, I think that was a specific example.
Really, really powerful, right? So, and just to clarify, if you are a Hurricane Bolter that is rapid fire 6 and you're on a Centurion, that means you never shoot 6 shots. From now on until the history of ever, a Centurion always shoots 12 bolter shots who has a Hurricane Bolter.
It's better.
That's good.
We talked about it. First off, I want to thank Robin Crudis for using bullet points and being as concise as possible. That makes me happy. Secondly, I'd like to congratulate him on seeing the truth that is adding power to elite units and not removing survivability or overpointing smaller chaff units. I think it's always better in a game, more dynamic, to make your elite space warriors a little bit more badass in a reasonable way with a very reasonable point deduction, which they did, and a DPS increase, which this is. And it's a very reasonable DPS increase. It's not a new thing. It's taking a currently existing rule and applying it to more situations, which therefore creates a potential new turn of max DPS for all these bolter wielding Marines. It's amazing. It's very well done, very clever on all fronts. Congratulations, Robin. We're going to make a real rules right out of you one day.
True story. That is, and this is a sick rule. So there's a lot of people, Rob, I was actually saying this during the pregame show that I believe GW has knocked it out of the park on the last 2 White Dwarfs. This is exactly, I bet you that they sell more White Dwarfs in the last 2 months that they've put them out.
Yes.
Maybe than all of last year. Like, we've got substance and quality and content coming out of these books. I'm really impressed. Keep the good, cool rules coming. And now you guys know, though, with that being said, I have to own all the literature. So now on top of all the books, all the codexes, all the chapter approves, Vigilus, special detachments, I now have to add in White Dwarfs to my collection of buying paperback products.
And I think that's,
since they're beta rules, I think that when the new big FAQ comes out in March, any of that they think have substance and should stay will just be incorporated in there and be told this is now the new rule for bolters. So, I mean, you don't really need to own it if you don't really care.
And traditionally, the beta rules are the rules. They've almost always been the rules. So
they're mostly always the rules for tournaments. But I know some people, play in their Beats Lab, play in their locals, that they're like, we don't play the beta rules.
Well, and to clarify, I mean, historically speaking, they've almost always all been the rule. Like when it came to the FAQ.
Yeah,
but I mean,
something
there's
very
subtle
close.
changes. There's subtle changes. The Smite one was changed for the better when it came full rule.
So, I mean, you're not doing yourself any favors by abstaining from beta rules.
But I think the fact that if dudes have, or ladies have Terminators or something, or I have 3 Crusaders. I don't know if y'all heard that disturbance in the Force where every single Crusader hit the table all at once the other day, but I did. And let me tell you what, if we're playing in my Beats Lab, I'm playing with some Crusaders with beta rules. But keep in mind too, this beta rule is in a White Dwarf, which they did put it out because it got leaked. Like, White Dwarfs hit the shelf all over northern North America already. The problem is that this is an Age of Sigmar issue. There's Age of Sigmar rules in here, and that's what they advertised. But in this one article, they're like, boom, Crudis is like dropping the mic on this rule. So will the Age of Sigmar issues have beta 40K rules inside of, tucked inside little articles?
So clever.
Right?
Yeah, I was just going to say I don't even know if it's even that, like, I think that they're just going to want everybody from now on to buy a White Dwarf. They had to see that they weren't selling shit for White Dwarfs. They came out and did the, what was that, middle of last year, the year before, where they had like the art book that came out every month, and then you get this like Visions, right? And then you get this like dinky paperback, like whatever. No, I just think that they figured out people will consume content if you give us a reason to. You're giving us cool rules. Put whatever you want. Sugarcoat it, wrap it, cover in plastic.
I'm no beef with it. It just makes sense. Instead, because the thing is, if they advertise it's an Age of Sigmar issue, then traditionally what happens is that sales would be cut in half, right?
Yes.
Between the split and reversed. So now, if all bets are off, it's an easy way to turn a knob and generate more profit.
I think. Oh, go ahead, Rob.
Well, I just wanted to make the comment that from the looks of it, yes, White Dwarf, you can make a reasonable assumption that White Dwarf was not selling because there was nothing in it. They started throttling back the new release stuff in it to like a week out. And by the time the White Dwarf hit, we already knew everything in there. So it was like legitimately no reason to buy the White Dwarf. Then you started seeing this, that they cut the staff. Like if you look in the inside cover, a lot of the staff is gone, and they had a guest editor for this first issue. So they've reorganized a lot of folks. And then they're like, okay, well, what can we do with, if it's least expensive to make this magazine, well, what else can we do with it? All right, let's do rules updates in it, right? Because instead of putting out a little index or whatever like we had, now they can inject these little things into it. And they can reuse a lot of content too, because if you look, the Crimson Fist painting article was from 2017. That was an exact cut and paste into all of that. So they're taking content, they're reusing content, they're obviously famous for it, right? But here's the thing. So they figured out how to get people to buy the issue, improve areas of the game, which is good, but they're forcing people to buy this book for $10. So they're basically like, new Assassin rules, $10. Maybe new Inquisitor rules, $10. New chapter, $10. What you want? $10. We got you.
Well,
and I think
I'm sorry, Rob. I would just say that, like, the Crimson Fist, absolutely. I want to own that, right? Because it's substantial rules. But, like, I think Sean's best too is like, cool, you just got a beta rule. I don't think it's a must buy. I like it, and I'm just
Sure.
I'm going to buy everything, right? But, like, I don't think it's handcuffing. This rule set so far doesn't seem like a handcuff that you got to buy versus, like, the Crimson Fist. I want those rules. I want to read up on them. I want to do this. This you can kind of get the image of 40, of any Facebook group,
Yeah, they
40K
posted it.
oriented and everything, right? So, like, yeah. I'm excited. I want to talk about,
They
like,
posted
the
it
rules
this
themselves
time.
and who bit.
They posted
because it got
this time.
leaked.
Yeah. But not
there's-
always, I promise.
Yeah, there's some units that can take advantage of this more than others. And I think if you're playing Space Marines, you got to look at this as like I'm excited. I'm excited to put my units back on the table. I'm excited to have unit shine more than they would ever. I don't know if I'm going to jump on hey, my Land Raider Crusaders are back, right? Like if I was taking one or I had a usefulness for it anyway, but you have like home run hitters like Death Watch, right? Gray Knights, in my opinion, an entire unit of Storm Bolters is unbelievable. And that was one of the biggest things they had going for them anyway, was the amount of firepower that they could do. Now they can do it from a longer range. Unit like Centurions, guys, stuff like that. Like the Death Watch vehicle, right? The flyer, the Corvus Blackstar, anything that has a random Hurricane Bolter that is still a little cheaper just got better.
Agreed. It was well executed. So, I mean, any type of reading into GW's intents aside, well done, GW.
Mm-hmm.
Well done. Let's transition into the final part of our episode, which is chess clock discussion, more concise delivery of what we did in the webcast. If you guys don't know, we do a webcast live, not to promote paywalls, but subscribe to our paywall. Want to see all the stuff we do pregame. But an interesting conversation popped up. Rob was driving. I saw some Discord messages. He's like, let me in the chat, motherfuckers. A lot of things happened. But among those things, Sean just came back from an event. He won everything, crushed all who opposed. And there was one game in particular you were talking about. Walk me through that again.
So it was the Golden Sprue GT, well run, and they enforced chess clocks across all games to help make the games go smoother, fair. We had a long discussion on how we all feel about chess clocks being better for the game, making everything equal for both players. And something that happened in my games was 2 of my games in the later rounds, my opponents actually ran out of clock before the game ended. And in both cases, it allowed me to win the game with impunity. In one case, I was already up in the game. In the other case, I at that point was still down points in the game. And that was against Steve Pamprine. I saw him, Mr. Bilbo Baggins, pop up in chat a while ago. He is a great player with orcs. I really like his orc tech. I think his list is probably one of the better orc lists out there. He's using a lot of movement tricks, a lot of less standard stuff. We won't go into too much of it here because I know he is probably prepping for LVO and we don't want to blow up his spot too much. But he has some great stuff that I hadn't seen. I hadn't played the new orcs and I hadn't played a non-standard orc list even in my head. So there's a lot of that going on. And so early in the game, I got caught in a couple mistakes where positioning put me out of position, where I had units set to go, but thought they would last a little longer than they did. But in all that, all the damage he did, all the shoot twice, fight twice with lots of attacks, lots of boys, even using the GW Dice app to speed that process, I started to notice that he was running way over on time and devoting too much of his time resource to killing my units early in the game versus trying to last out the game. So then in my counterpunch, I was able to fight back against those units, kill them. The main bulk of his boys was dead turn 3. And then in a last gasp move on turn 3, he ran out of time. So when that happened, he was up a couple points in the game, but now he couldn't interact anymore. And so I was able to then pick and choose my fights just to get points. And in ITC missions, all you have to do is kill one, kill more, hold more. So all I had to concentrate my effectiveness against was any of his units holding objectives, any of his units that were a character an easy kill for my solitaire. So even though my units were damaged and at less than optimal efficiency, I could operate with no penalties because he had ran out of clock and he couldn't fight back. He couldn't overwatch. He couldn't use the regular parts of his army because he had already run out of time.
Yeah. And we go into real big detail. So what I suggest is, Juice, make your point like that summarizes your stance.
So chess clocks incorporating into the game is, in my opinion, an absolute necessity moving forward. I actually would rather just not play a game of 40K that wasn't on a chess clock. It is, I think, that level to where it should be. A chess clock just does so much. When we talk about we're playing on an even play field, you have 2,000 points, Sean. I have 2,000 points. We build our list in any form of fashion we would like. If you're telling me that at the end of the day, Sean, I get more time than you because I moved more models because I brought more than you. I was slower and decided to think out every scenario, whatever way possible, with no threat of the clock on my back, so I could play the most quote unquote perfect game of 40K, right? Which we all know there is none. It just takes, you just can't do it. It's not fair. When you're telling me, I actually would give up points to say, give me the chess clock. You take 75 points off my list and I get a chess clock. I think it's that valuable. 100 points. We talk about CPs are a resource in the game. CPs are trash compared to knowing I'm going to get my time.
Yeah. Rob, I don't know if you were able to chime in during that discussion of the webcast. Did you hear any of it?
I heard it. Yeah, I heard most of it. Yeah.
I'm interested to get your perspective on it because you're not a guy who traditionally has done a lot of games on chess clocks. Am I right on that?
I haven't played any, to be honest.
How do you feel about that? Just hearing these two things, like his experience, how he did, with just the context that he played it, Juice's point. I just curious, snap feeling. How do you feel about people getting timed out with chess clocks?
People getting timed out?
Yeah.
Well,
like
that's
somebody losing the game because they have no time left. How do you feel?
That's on them. They fucked up. Like if that's the parameters of the rules and you know to manage your clock, then you done messed up somewhere. Me personally, I'm kind of interested. I want to practice with it. But I don't feel like this is kind of something I preach is, if I don't feel like I'm prepared for a tournament and I don't know my rules, I'm not going to go. And if I'm not prepared for a tournament and I don't know my rules, I'm definitely not going to play.
Wise words.
Like
wise
that
words.
ain't happening.
Yeah.
So, I think it's another thing to practice on and be aware of. I'm not opposed to it. I was actually on the fence about ITC missions, and I was like, I don't know what this is all about. It seems like more complexity. And then I tried them, and I was like, oh.
Turns out if you have literally thousands of people playtesting your missions and updating them weekly for a couple of years, you end up building kind of the best missions in the game.
Yeah, I was
right there with you
impressed with how it all worked. I think there was a little ambiguity with the like which ones can count twice on the secondaries, but then if you read into it,
that's the most recent change to it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting. I was curious about how you feel because some people, because we did the whole bit on the webcasts and we went hard.
Yeah.
And some people just like they're like, oh, this feels cheap or that or this. And I'm sorry to say it in like a tone that seems mocking. I don't mean to mock your opinion. I have a difference of opinion. And sometimes I do feel so strongly about a subject that I feel like I'm just explaining to you why you're wrong.
Let me,
and in this situation, and speaking to the audience members who don't like chess clock, and I say this as respectfully as I can, like your opinion's wrong. I'm going to explain to you why. If you are in a competitive setting where there is a global timer because you're at a convention and there is an allotted amount of time for all players to move forward, you can't look at it as black and white as, well, like, how come I can't play anymore? Or now I can't play armies that have a lot of models. No, I'm not saying that you can't do those things. You can play with infinity time any day of the week. But when you step up, okay, to be real, it is a step up because you have to have your resources right. You have to have your paint jobs right. You have to have your interaction with your opponent right, your knowledge of the missions right, and all other rules, and now the resource that is time. It's a global timer in a game that is turn-based, meaning you have to go, and while you are going, I am disallowed from moves, right? Except for special interactions. So it is completely ridiculous to say that that the timer is running down all the time, even when I'm disallowed, when it's your turn. We have finally moved forward with this game into a real competitive, potentially esports world where fairness, even money is on the line. People are winning money at some of these events. That is where competitive gaming is going.
Yeah.
The timer is a resource. And by adding a chess clock, you make it fair. It is your time versus his time. You have to manage your time. I used to not be okay with this. I was like, man, I don't like this infiltrating my hobby. And then one day I just said, well, I want to play tournaments and I don't want to be somebody who can ever be accused of wasting somebody's time. And that's how I feel about these. I used Ben Moley. I used him as an example in the webcast. I'll use him as an example here. He's one of the best players we know. Until Sean Naden, he led Team America to ETCs to the best streak they had ever. He's one of the best there is. I saw him remove himself from the player pool at LVO last year because he was playing Index Orcs. And he couldn't get his games out of turn 2, win or lose. He didn't feel it was fair. His opponents. One of the winningest dudes I know.
And I think that's a great example. And I was going to bring that up because people were like, well, it handicaps some armies. Well, if you're bringing orcs, bring your 8 orc game. And, Ben's a genius, quite possibly.
And you know what he cited as his mistake? Was not being prepared. Yep. Was not practicing in a timer.
Because there are plenty of guys that bring hordes. Brad Chester, Nick Rose played a lot of Horde Armies, 180 cultists, 300 Tyranid, Genestealer Cult Tyranid models last year. And they could play that army on a clock. They could play that army in a boat. They could play that army in the sky. They could play that army if they could fly. But it didn't matter what they were playing at.
Dr. Seuss?
I did. And
pretty glorious.
They could play it anywhere. And when people say, oh, make the points smaller, make the rounds longer, I'm going to tell you right now, human nature fills time. In ETC,
there's a great book, Sean Naden, called Profit First. And the whole and the biggest anecdote you take away from the book is human beings are conditioned to take all of what they have, whether it be time, money, food on the plate.
So I played in 3 tournaments the last couple weekends. 2.5 hour rounds with a chess clock. I got 6 turns every one of my games. 3 hour rounds, no chess clocks. Some games I only got 4 rounds. It's not always up to me. ETC is 4 hour rounds, and you have people not finishing their games sometimes if they're not using a chess clock. Why? It's all the same points, all different time limits. What is it? It's motivation, preparation, and procrastination. That's it.
MPP.
Which one are you
heard
going to
it
be?
here.
Which one are you going to be?
Motivation, preparation, procrastination. I love it. That's amazing too, Sean. Like another great nugget of information showcasing the concept of a 4-hour round, a 3-hour round down to a 2.5 hour round on a chess clock. You'll always make sure you get rounds in, because again, it's not up to your opponent, right, Sean? If you get your turns in, it's up to yourself. Making sure that you get your turns could mean that you forego a shooting, you forego some movement, because at the end of the day, if you time yourself out, you have zero chance of winning. If you forego a turn, you still can pick up objective points or hold more secondary points on turn 6 when your opponent has already clocked out. It is a whole nother element.
And we're not
to the
saying
game,
people are
I'm
clocking
so
out.
happy.
We're not saying like all these people. It's not like there's not a clocking out epidemic either. To be clear, there's
no, absolutely not. It's Steve played. It was a 5-game tournament. He won 4 of his games. He lost to me because he clocked out. He clocked out in another game because he has an orc army, but he had positioned himself, set himself to own all the objectives, and he beat his person on points.
Therefore, showing that there is, even with a clock out, he was still able to win. Like, and it's a calculated risk. He prepared for that. He said, I'm going to break your back on turn 3. And if I have any time left, and if I don't have any time left, I'm still going to win. Like, he calculated those things. That's the preparedness. Like, love it. Motivation and preparedness. I was so excited to hear about your game with him on the webcast, man. Like, I'm blown away by it. Like, just be prepared.
That's all it is.
I think that's the big thing is respect each other's time and come proper, have all your game mates, have your practice in and do all that thing. I think the biggest horror stories, and obviously one of the biggest controversies from LVO last year, was about the damn time and the chess clock specifically. Putting slow players in their place, and you know who you are, and you know you do it, and you know it's a mechanic, is good for the game, because that kind of toxic play is not what we need to grow the hobby. And if people are willing to make the sacrifice to not go to an event because they're not prepared and they're not willing to affect someone else's game because of their unpreparedness, you need to step up to the plate and do the same. And I think,
and that's one of the great things about the clock, I think, because you don't actually, if you're not prepared and you're being slow, that's okay. And if you're new and you want to go to your RTTs and your RTTs are running it, it's okay for you to be slow. Take your time, do your turns. You get in as many as you can. And you were probably going to lose that game anyway because your opponent had prepared more. Now you lose, but you don't actually take away from your opponent's chance to have their full game. On top of that, the best thing about our local RTTs running the chess clocks is they always run on time. Everybody gets their full lunch. Everybody gets to go home to their wives and families, or, cats, dogs, anything. They get to do that at the end of the day. And so then in like a meta type next level thought is that you don't have to worry about, the next time when I go to the tournaments at that store, you don't get home till 10 o'clock because they run 3 hours behind schedule. There's always this guy doing this or that. They run on time. So it actually makes you able to attend more events, play this hobby more, because you know how it's going to work out every time.
More instances of fun. Yeah. More instances of having fun.
And the last thing that I want to say is, let's even put it into another perspective. Let's say you're not a tournament goer, right? Let's just say you like playing at your friendly local game store on Thursday nights. You like playing in your game room at your house on Wednesday nights, whatever the case may be, right? You know what a chess clock does? It means that you actually don't have to play a 4-hour game, and you could actually get 2 games in if that's what you wanted. Now, Kenny and I will tell you some of our favorite games we played against one another, they last 5 hours because we're hanging out drinking. There's no stress. We don't care about that. But in times in which you do want to get a game or 2 in, you do have that itch of like, I really want to play. It puts both people on a level playing field to get a couple repetitions, or a couple repetitions in with different style of lists, different kind of things. There's multiple times when I'm getting ready for a tournament in a single day, I'll play 6 different army lists, over 5 different factions in a single day just to figuring out what the army does, what I want to do against it, and whatever. And putting myself on a clock means I will not overspend or overcommit on a single game, and I can get all my test plays in that I want.
And that's not to say that I don't play games without a chess clock. When I'm at home, I put the Han Solo movie on. My boy Danny and I didn't make it out of turn 2 because he hadn't seen the Han Solo movie and he got really into it. So like every once in a while he's like, He's like, I'm sorry, I'm not moving my models. And I was like, bro, literally don't care. We're hanging out.
Is that D Woods?
D Woods.
Oh, fucking D Woods.
Little ass pimp. And so we just played and they hung out and that's fine. But when I'm at an event, when I've traveled, when I've spent the time, you deserve, your opponent deserves, the guy at the table next to him deserves to get as many turns in as he's been prepared to get. Because that's his right. So, and it doesn't actually, it's crazy. You think, oh, is it hard to do? It's not. Like, I got jumped 2-3 years ago in Europe I was playing the 155 Razorwing flocks that were allowed when the index came out and 1 million attacks, 1 million models. The German team asked me to play on a clock. I said, cool. Is that a game? They're like, cause like in my head, anything is a game. I was like, oh, so clicking this back and forth, can I be winning? Whenever my number is higher, I feel like I'm winning. So like, I'm like,
yes,
click, 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 click. I'm like, I'm ahead of you. You wanted to play this game, huh? You wanted to play the shot clock game? Now I'm ahead of it.
You know, and we're almost out of time before we get out of here. Let me say this. Sean is the one who explained chess clocking to me the way he just explained it to you as a game. He explained that to me at LVO last year. I think we're all standing around. Remember, like it was you and all the other.
Yeah, because you were against it. You were very against it. You're like, I don't like that. And I was
yeah,
like,
it was you and all the other tryhards, right? Like all just chilling in a little corner being tryhards. And I come over, I'm just interacting with you, and then that's how you explain it to me. You're like, it's a game. Manage your resource. It's a game. I was like, I'm sold. And that's all he said to me. He didn't have to go into anything. I was like, I am instantly sold on this. Like I immediately flipped my stance on chess clocks and now I fucking love them. But let's get out of here. Let's get set up to do a raid. Closing remarks for Juicygasm?
Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to make sure I clear something up. I know for anybody who's watching last week, this is actually new for anybody because we didn't roll this over into the podcast. But I do just want to give a special shout out to the TO and staff over the tournament I played in a couple weeks ago, Hammer in the New Year. It was an amazing event. The guys run a tight ship. I do not feel in any form or fashion that I was cheated by any means. More or less the moral of the story that I was trying to get across is now that Kenny, as you alluded to earlier in the show, used the phrase that a esports vibe. Warhammer 40K is more in the spotlight than it ever has been. And transparency is key from across all levels, especially when we get down to individuals that are interacting with playtesters and rules and whatnot. Making sure that everything is on the up and up, not just behind the scenes, but to making sure that anybody that attends events and stuff like that is understanding what's going on and those rule sets. So I just want to make sure, Phil is an amazing individual, runs super tight ships, does an amazing job at Nova. Everything else, there's nowhere near any ill will or whatever towards that at all. And I'm excited to see how everything goes forward.
Rob.
Sean, take us out of here.
All that is gold does not glitter. Not all those who wander are lost. The old that is strong does not wither. Deep roots are not reached by the frost.